it's a pleasure to be with you both. It really is. Yeah. Many times I try to come to India, but my life circumstances doesn't permit me to at this moment. But I've been very, very blessed with knowing Ram and Sonali. Right. It's amazing that we have the grace of you coming this journey.
Be here for this journey.
Yeah. So I really feel blessed. If you could both introduce your names, because I don't think I would correctly pronounce them. I can, if it's okay to call you Swami G, but I would like to hear your names.
All right, I'm Svatmananda, and
I'm Brahmavidananda Saraswati from India, and both of us are students of Swami Dayananda Saraswati. We are teachers under him.
Yeah. So Swami Dayananda ordained us, and him many moons ago, me probably just a couple of years ago.
When you're talking of something which is beyond time, what it was
a
few years matter.
Exactly, yeah.
Now for those that are unaware of such teachings as Vedanta, could you explain a little bit about Vedanta?
I tend to put it this way, and then of course chip in when you can. It's really the teaching of oneness. There are times when people go around, especially when they're in love or when things are good, and especially like weather like this, and they go around feeling one. But for the most part, they feel one when they're happy, and when they're in a good mood and everything is good. They're well fed, they have a good relationship with their spouse or significant other, and when things are good, it's great to feel one. It's easier to feel one. But then the real challenge is, can you feel one with the things you don't like? Can you feel one with Osama bin Laden? Can you feel one with Hitler or Saddam Hussein? Or if you have a child, can you feel one with the person who's kidnapped you? Because the real idea or the reality is actually understanding that oneness, understanding that we all are the same thing. So the question is, how do we go about understanding that?
So that's part of self-inquiry.
It is part of self-inquiry, but you cannot do the self-inquiry without guidance.
Yes.
Because you see, you start off with ignorance to begin with. And if you don't know what you're doing an inquiry about, how can you do the inquiry?
Yes.
Then the whole inquiry is tainted with that ignorance.
Yes.
So you need the knowledge to come from a source which is free from that ignorance.
Right.
And that source for us is the Veda.
But you think it's very important to have a teacher opposed to going directly to books like the Upanishads and the Gita and things to get the proper understanding of those texts?
I don't know whether you've read the Upanishads. The fact of the matter is, when I first started reading the Upanishads, I really didn't get it. And there is no way you can get it, because the Upanishads are like a meta-language. They're coded words. And each word is a treasure trove of information. The question then becomes is, how do you unfold it? How do you know what's behind the words? When you can say something and you say, well, if I say, you are bliss, but you're not experiencing the blissness, and how do you justify that? Yeah. So the idea of the Upanishads is not something that can be read. However, it needs to be unfolded, and unfolded by a traditionally trained teacher. So here's the thing. If I have the vision of oneness, if it is clear within me that I have this vision that we're all one, because you see, when we use the term oneness, it's a bit complicated.
Yes.
The fact that we use oneness, it implies that there is a second. So here the question is non-duality, the real term. So when we see the vision of non-duality through our mind, it's not through our eyes. If we have that vision of non-duality, then I can teach if I have it. If I don't, I can't. And the question then becomes, how do I unfold it? So it's like building a spaceship. You can say, well, I know how to build a spaceship, but you probably know it in your dream or in your eye, you have an idea. To actually build a spaceship, you kind of need the knowledge. Thermodynamics, engineering, all kinds of engineering actually, material science. I mean, it takes a lot to do that. The challenge is to understand the difference between non-dual and duality.
Yes.
Our existence is in duality. So how do you reconcile the non-dual within the realm of duality? Because we have, you see, our understanding and thinking is duality.
Yes.
So
duality is the opposites of everything.
Exactly.
Light, dark, good, bad, up, down,
At the
left,
same
right.
time, non-duality cannot be an opposite of duality.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's that which connects us back to our essence, back to divinity.
Yeah, and you know, when you use words generally in communication, let us say somebody has not seen this lake, and I tell them, oh, the water is so green. And say, water? Green? How's that? But you know what is green, you know what is water. You put together and say, oh, it must be the reflection of the trees and things that you are seeing. So, on the basis of known things, you are building up. Now, the truth is unknown. So, I use known words or unknown words. If I use known words, nothing comes out of it. If I use an unknown word, you don't understand anything anyway. It's an unknown word. So I have to use the known words and communicate what is beyond the words to you.
Right.
So what is beyond the words is understood through the words. There is where the methodology of teaching comes in, where reading will not work. Because reading is dead words. The words have to become live in the hands of a teacher.
Yeah.
So that's where the teacher becomes important. So the word guru or teacher may be loaded with a lot of words. That's a different thing. That's cultural. Simply put, the guru is one who can communicate what you are to yourself, introduce you to yourself. That's it.
And in order to do that, you see, what Swami G talked about earlier, is that we need to have a certain sense of maturity. And that sense of maturity comes from working through our psychological issues. Now, a book will not correct your psychological issues. You cannot say, I'm going to read the Upanishads because the Upanishads doesn't talk back. Yes. But a teacher who has the vision and who's been properly trained uses the Upanishads, uses the words of the Upanishads to help you overcome your psychological issues.
Yes.
And after clearing that, once you clear that hurdle, then you are able to move to the next step.
Yeah.
Unlike other teaching, you see, the other thing is that when we look at other teachings, it's a skill.
Yes.
In everything that we learn, we acquire something. We add on to what we already know. In this teaching, in order to see that, what is non-dual, we have to deprogram. We have to take it away. We have to negate what you know about yourself. And that means dealing with your psychological issues.
And that's what the guru is pointing at, showing the unknown so that it becomes known and felt rather than intellectually understood. Because that's the difference of truly knowing.
No, I would say the understanding is intellectual, but it becomes a part of you.
Yeah.
It doesn't remain in one corner of the brain. It's about the whole of me.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
it, yeah.
That's the completion of.
Yeah, the difference is, you see, and we talked about this earlier in the sense that feeling or experience, because feeling is an experience, all experience of feeling, guilt, happiness, joy, bliss, whatever we call it, all of it, in every aspect of experience, remains within the realm of duality.
It's all ephemeral and it's all changing.
Exactly. So that when you say it's all in duality, because you're having the experience, The experience is the object.
Yes.
So you have to have the experience. You see, the very fact that you experience something is duality.
Yes.
So the question then becomes, who is the one who is experiencing?
The witnesser. Of
that
yes.
becomes
Exactly. So the thing is, we're not worried, we don't care about the experience because that's duality.
Yes.
And it's objectified. The one who is experiencing is the subject. And the biggest challenge here is like the sugar crystal going out and trying to find out whether it's sweet. And it says, okay, let me go out and, I'll talk to a guru, and the guru starts having these mystical experiences and says, well, can you feel the sweetness? The sugar crystal is already sweet. It doesn't need an experience to feel sweet. The traditional Vedantic guru says, you're already sweet. You don't need to do anything. You just have to know. Because your entire experience is nothing but who you are. And so that's where the difference is. It's a cognitive shift that needs to come in place rather than experience.
But it's also good then to also understand what duality is and why it's there in the manifest, so that it can know itself, because if there was no duality, there would be no other, and if there was no other, it could not then be known.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. At the same time, the focus on experience is so high, not realizing that most of our experiences are false, not true.
Yes.
We're walking on a flat earth, doesn't exist. We enjoy a rising sun, doesn't exist. It's not true. We enjoy a blue sky, sky is not blue. So most of our experiences are based on something which is not real. This is something forgotten, that our experiences are based on something not real.
Yeah, the very question that Swami G pointed out about the rising sun.
Yeah.
We actually see the sun move.
Ooh, it doesn't move.
Yeah, and that's why Galileo had a problem.
Yeah.
That, our experience is that the sun moves. It's undeniable in terms of our experience. So how do we reconcile the fact that the earth rotates around the sun? We needed a different means of knowledge to understand that, in fact, the earth rotates around the sun and the sun is stationary in terms of this dialogue. We accept the fact that this sun is stationary and the earth goes around the sun. We do not challenge that.
And nobody has experienced that. That's not part of your experience, that's part of what do you know, what do you recognize.
Yeah. Because, the Vatican was justified in almost crucifying Galileo, because the reality is, everywhere you look around, everyone's experience is that the sun rises.
Yes.
Not only that, there are 3 references in Bible that states very distinctly that the sun is fixed. The earth is fixed and the sun rotates. So you have the Bible to validate it, you have your own experiences to validate it, and everybody else's experience. Then some guy comes around and say, well, that's not true. Yeah. So it's only now, because we have the advantage of spacecraft and satellites, that we can say, oh yeah, we don't argue with it. But then, you see, the fact of the matter, our experience does not tally with the fact. So when we focus on the experience, we're actually deluding ourselves. And part of the teaching is to understand what is the reality.
Yes.
And the Upanishads gives us the basis. And with the basis of the teaching, we use the guidance of someone who knows how to handle the information, who's trained to handle the information, to use that to help you see the reality. Because you see, the other point is, I could be sitting here and I could tell you all kinds of crap. How do you know that I might sound wonderful, I might make you feel great, I might make it sound true in your logical mind. But what is the basis of my information?
That is the way. The problem of the teaching is I have to negate the wrong notions in the listener.
Exactly.
And that makes it difficult for both the listener and the teacher. Because nobody likes some pet ideas which I have held along for a long, long time to be dismissed out of hand.
But that's why it's so important to question things,
exactly.
isn't it?
Absolutely.
And I think enough people don't question it, and that's why there still remains so much ignorance within a lot of religious backgrounds, because people just take it to be. They take other people's knowledge.
So either you'll just swallow it blindly without understanding, or you'll treat it like blasphemy. I mean, come on, how can you say something like this?
Right.
It's something simple. Supposing we are walking on this. There's a rope lying down there. I see the rope, you see the snake. You're looking for a stick, you're looking. If you are telling me, hey, snake, I say rope. Snake! Rope. There's no communication. It's like the written word, it's a rope. But for me to communicate what I see to you, I have to negate your idea of snake.
Yes.
Now, on top of it, there are psychological issues. You come from a bad experience of snakes. Now, therefore, there is fear. There is anger. Then what? No, I mean, come on, where is my stick gone? Where is my, I'm going to get... Or there is a lot of fear. I'm terrified. So, a lot of this psychological, you have to quieten down before I can tell you, hey, it is not a snake. What you're seeing there is a rope. So, I have to negate that snake and reveal what it is. So, similarly, we have a lot of notions about ourselves.
That's right.
Especially, either if I have had problematic experiences, then that defined me a lot. Or if I'm very happy, I had successful experiences. Yeah, I made it in life. So, hey, all my ideas worked here, I'm here, I come a long way. I made it in life. Both of them will have problems with the negation. And as we say in management, the skill that you got you from there to here may not be enough to take you from here to there.
Yes.
It's the same thing here. I got all this to right. I come to the spiritual, but now what? I have to be open for that negation. That's what makes it difficult.
Yes. That's why it's important to be open, isn't it?
And that's why you need a guru also. Someone will tell you, hey, come on, champ. Who is not just making you feel nice.
Yes.
Who can be confronted enough to say, hey, this is not correct. This doesn't work. You can tell it nicely, but he has to say it. He has to say it.
And it's not based on belief at all.
At all, no belief system.
It's a question of inquiry, and it's a guided inquiry. And once you get the guidance, you can do the inquiry in a certain sort of system.
Yes.
And by doing so, you yourself, not the teacher, you yourself get to see the vision.
Yes. Yeah.
The teacher has the vision in this tradition.
But that's where then it comes into it, doesn't it? That when we have such questions directed to ourselves of who am I?
Yeah.
That once you start working with these teachings or with a teacher, that they can direct you beyond that of the conditioned mind, beyond that of the conditions of society and of your parents and of those things.
You learn
back
to drop
the point that you realise that you're none of those identifications.
Exactly.
And then you go beyond that to actually we're all a manifestation of each other as different forms, all of the same, held in consciousness.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's big.
And because we have this misunderstanding of being identified with the self, me, Travis, this individual person, because that's in duality, that's where suffering remains in samsara. Yeah.
Your own sense of finitude. I'm a finite being. I'm this much only. Like we say in India, I'm this much only. I am like this.
A lot of it is our conditioning.
Yeah.
So, and different traditions have different forms of conditioning. Within the confines of duality, So that makes it really hard. So you start out, for instance, in the Western influences, that you're told, as a child, that you're born a sinner. You're condemned from the beginning.
And that's a very powerful message, because the messages you get as a child, very difficult to get over. It can get over, difficult. It's a struggle.
I think that's misunderstanding of ancient scriptures, and that happens throughout the world.
Exactly.
Oh yes.
And that's why the esoteric teachings are so important, to get to the depth, and having a teacher to explain that.
Exactly. So you got to get through that psychological. Then you have other systems within the culture that reinforces the fact that you're a sinner.
Yes.
So you have to get through that. And of course your parents' psychological issues and growing. Everyone has, has those. And then, all our fears and so on, you've got to deal with that too. So all of these little conditionings, it's programming that actually tells us that I'm this insignificant, minute, helpless,
useless human being,
and I need a savior.
Yes.
What happens in the Vedic tradition is that you don't need a savior. What you need is a teacher to help you see that you're not all of those things you think you are.
As an overall picture for the evolution of man, do you see it that we're in a way all cleansing that of our lineage and our ancestors' karma, and in a way we're dissolving that, so that all of man can come to a stage of being enlightened, so that we can harmonize and live in peace on the planet?
Do
you think that's going to happen?
It's not. Nobody's. The mass of humanity at one stroke cannot gain this knowledge. You'll always find it's a minority that goes. Earth has to be what it is now. How much has it changed? Saviors have come and gone, heroes have come and gone. It has changed a lot. Everyone left the earth a bit better place. But at the end result, it has remained a battlefield. Why? Because earth is a place for human beings to grow. So you have to have tough conditions. You have to have so-called unfair conditions. You need pain, you need joy, you need everything to grow. At the same time, this is the condition of the earth, because we need to grow. To grow, you need a little tough school to grow better than you. And at the end of it, then what? After growth, then you come for freedom. So there's always a minority who will work for this. Even the Upanishads says that it's always a minority who will come. Yeah, there was a time when the whole society was structured for moksha, for this freedom. But everyone didn't get it. The society was structured so that they all knew the ultimate goal was this. So they lived in a life that can help them grow and get this. But at any given time, there's always a minority who got it. It's always bound to be there. Look at how many people are there in London right now. How many people are here? 1,000? Out of the 1,000, how many would be interested in what's happening in the fire tent? 30, 40. We're talking of 6 million, and 30, 40 are, 40 people are exposed to this. I mean, they're choosing. They come at their own time, which is fine. We're happy with that.
That's acceptance, isn't it? Of people have to find it for themselves when the time is right. But that brings me back to something very interesting that you said, that our experience on Earth in human form is that of teaching, of learning.
Yeah, of to grow, learning to grow.
And that's to grow to know ourselves as the infinite. As
that happens with the help of a teacher.
Yes.
So that's why even a minority, I'm not going to say, I come all the way from India and I'm getting 40 students here. I get 100 students in India. Why am I doing this here? I won't say that, because this is part of our outreach. How can I deny the knowledge to anyone? No, that way. So if take a few days off and take some time off and do that.
Oh, and also, when you say, if you look at human beings on Earth, the Earth is like the school.
Yes.
And it's a place where we come to grow. So if I was going to hold a seed here in the air, it would not grow. I need to fertilize the soil, I need to till the soil, and then the seed then has the environment in which it starts breaking out its shell and then starts growing. The earth is that for human beings. It's a school, and in fact in Bhagavad Gita we say that it's a kshetra, means a field. So
it does seem that things are speeding up somewhat, and I know you can bring in certain connotations as critical mass and things, but it certainly seems that more people are rediscovering or refinding these teachings and becoming more interested, whether that becomes part of the state of the world, or when things are in flux and chaos, like reordering of things, that people through their sufferings then feel the need to search and look for. And I think for me personally, when I was very young, I was very inquisitive, but then through conditionings of family I suppressed those, and then as life went on and I experienced certain sufferings, I then started to look within, and I followed my heart against that of what all my family thought, to go searching, and that searching brought me full circle back to actually learning who I am and having that self-discovery to want to go further and to be of service to help others.
It's true. Ultimately all of us are on the journey.
Yes.
Even the people who outrightly deny all this, they're against them, they're also on the journey to know the truth, because everyone wants fulfillment. That's a given. They want to discover the joy and fulfillment of life. It's your birthright. But you sometimes have to go, not the straight path. You have to go all over, because that's where the growth lies, and recognizing that this is what you need. So it takes some time. It takes some knowing also, something to trigger your thinking on these lines. Where all these subculture books, Jonathan Livingston Seagull, Siddhartha, these books help because it triggers of your thinking. Or to quote an English writer, Somerset Maugham, The Razor's Edge, where these books will trigger off some type of thinking, and you'll say, okay, maybe there is more to it than what life is offering me right now. That's where the journey starts.
But life is also ultimately our teacher, because we are life.
A lot of lessons are learned on the hard knocks of life.
But I also feel the interactions with life, as we ask and we speak out to ask the question to the universe, often now I notice that the answers come in subtleties or synchronicities, and things start to unfold. But it's interesting with the pathway, the straight pathway, the middle pathway to learning. But ultimately, they all lead to the same place. They might take different lengths of time, but ultimately there is no time. So they all end up at the same point.
That's okay. Everyone needs a break once in a while, so it's okay to have a break.
Actually, you describe sometimes the fast lane of the cynic.
Yes,
something like that,
Like, people like us, we are trying to do it on the expressway. Straight. Which is good if your car is in good condition.
Yes.
Not other way. Otherwise you'll end up in the ditch. But if you have other priorities in life, other needs in life, if you only have the need for this spiritual thing, then that's the best thing for you. But if you have other needs, emotional needs, physical needs, and you need other things, then take the scenic route. Have a partner in life, have kids, and make it's
all is fine.
It seems a slower way, but it's not really slower because you need your growth.
Yes.
So if you then make a hasty renunciation, that will actually hamper your growth, because you're not ready for it and you're trying to do something.
It's backfires,
it's like going to a gym. Okay, just starting. So the trainer gave me 10-pound weight, man. It's good enough to start with.
Yes.
No, I want to lift 50 pounds. I end up injuring and actually damaging myself for the next 6 months. I have a ligament tear. I can't exercise for the next 6 months. I thought I was going faster, but I'm not. Whereas with 10 pounds I had started. Probably in 6 months I could have lifted that 50. Now after 10 months I have to start from scratch again. After 6 months, I have to start from the scratch again.
Yeah.
So you're going at your own speed. That's fine.
Yeah, that's trusting in the unfolding and that everything is right as it needs to be.
Trust-like.
You can then also start to get caught very much in back into the duality of which would be the most direct road, and then what's right and wrong and what's the best decision. But actually, what I've come to realise is trusting in the heart and following. It doesn't matter the choice. You could question it matters, but ultimately it doesn't matter, because life will teach you eventually what you need to learn to grow to that realisation.
So whichever decision helped you grow is the right one.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
What helped me grow, even if it made a mess of my life, but it helped me grow.
Suffering, it eventually teaches you
grew,
to go beyond that. So that brings another question of. So we have those that are naturally inquisitive that come to these things, but for those that really feel struggling in their lives and suffering, I think suffering's such a strong word, and it's very much felt by so many, and there's so many different interpretations of suffering. You know, it can be the extremes of poverty and without food and water, and it can be depression, or someone's in a job that doesn't connect with them. But all these things, I think, if you could give some insight to, in a way, their direction for us, the challenges of life are actually trying to teach us. It's not that life's trying to make things difficult for us and make us have a hard time. It's actually trying to put us on the right track so that we can learn. Could you talk a bit about this?
To give you a simple example, if you come to a martial arts school, I'm teaching you how to block, but I'm punching you like this. How will you block? But if I punch hard, can you see that? So that is the challenge of life. You're learning. The toughness makes you learn. Because if this is not blocked, you get hurt. So that I don't want. So I'll automatically learn to block hard. Because the punch is coming in. So life throwing punches at me, I learn to grow and become tougher and stronger. And you know that it's a cliché, but it works. What doesn't kill you will make you stronger.
And ultimately, it's all loving.
Yeah.
It's
You
like
can be loving, compassionate.
It's like a strict mother.
Yeah.
She's not telling the child off.
Exactly.
To be unkind to the child, but to stop it from falling, or you know, to help.
Though sometimes it can look like that to the child.
Yes.
But it is not true.
The similar analogy I use is that of a gem.
Yeah, it has to be cut and polished.
See, yeah, exactly. So if you are graphite, you know, you need a gentle cut. But if you're a diamond, you need a harder cut. You know, you need something that is really, really hard to cut a diamond.
Yeah, it looks like both of us were like that.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, you really go through the knocks of life, and you go through hell basically before you come here. I mean, that's exactly my story. My personal story is full of challenges and pain and all that. I mean, you know, just recently I've been homeless for a while, and you know, I have absolutely no money, and I have no home, and I'm a total global hobo. But you know, I don't go to sleep worrying about it.
But that's because you have true trust.
Yeah, I mean,
and that came at surrendering and
the vision of Vedanta. I mean, it was Vedanta that helped me go through my psychological issues. It was Vedanta that helped me gain the vision, and because I am so confident and I see it, then it doesn't bother me at all, because I know we're all one, and there's nothing to, you know, it's not an experience, because that as we say in Sanskrit, is that I sit in the knowledge, that I am so confident of it, that it is beyond a shadow of doubt that I have this knowledge. Then it becomes, you know, it's not even that I got to force myself to trust it, it's just that I know. And because I know, I'm okay with my life. I don't have to worry about where I'm going to sleep tomorrow, because I know it'll all be fine. I don't have to worry about my next meal because it's provided for.
That's part of the Swami path, though, isn't it? The completely giving everything up
Surrender,
to trust,
yes.
trust in the nature of life.
It's something like this. Years ago, when my mother was alive, I am a very quick packer. I just put whatever in a bag, close it up, and move. So she should always ask me, "Hey, have you taken everything?" I said, "I have everything I need. If you have forgotten something, I don't need it." If I have forgotten something, I know how to do with it. I don't need it. So that's what we go about in life like that. Okay, if the Lord will give me what I need, and if you don't get it, you don't need it. Finished. Matter solved.
And if you experience hardship, it's because you needed to learn from that.
I
Absolutely.
And if you get that meal that evening, it's because you needed nourishing. Yeah. I feel this very much, that that life supports life. We were born on a planet that has air, has water, has fire, everything that we need.
Everything we need is provided.
But from our conditioning, whether that still comes from the cave, being caveman, and storing things up, that you find that especially in the modern world of commodities, that people, now with money, they're saving up the money so that they can retire and have a safe existence. There's no trust that life actually provides everything that you need to nourish the body and to take care of you. And I think that's where the fear and separation comes from.
And going back to what you said a few seconds ago, is that when we have challenges, it's not because we are bad people to experience difficult things in life. We have difficult experiences because we need to learn something from it. Our fundamental problem is that we are so attached to our likes and dislikes. We want certain things, and we have preconceived notions about what we want and what we think is good for us. And this is also part of the cultural conditioning, upbringing, and all of those things, that we then narrow our field of what we think we should have, which for the most part is different from what we were here for. And so most of the time, because of the preconditioning and cultural influences, we tend to go away or deviate from our authentic self. Because if we did maintain our journey within the authentic self, without judgment or wondering what our parents might say, what the culture might say, what other people might say, and really remain true to who we are, then we would not be suffering as much. And so part of the suffering is really to guide us and to goad us to become our authentic selves. And this is the big difference. And when we get into that track of being on the authentic path, then you'll see the challenges a lot lesser. That's when we begin to enjoy our journey. So, but to get there, we need to deal with our likes and dislikes. And in order to deal with our likes and dislikes, we need to deal with our psychological issues. So
the whole thing
brings us back to the duality.
That is the area where first initial growth takes place.
And that is karma yoga.
Psychological growth, karma yoga, that's where. After that, other things can flow in easier, much easier.
Yeah, that's very interesting. But ultimately, with subject and object, there is no subject or object. It's beyond that, isn't it?
Yeah, so once we deal with our likes and dislikes, which is basically what karma yoga is, then we are ready. We have the prerequisite in terms of the mastery of our mind to then sit with a teacher who can then unfold the vision for us.
So that will be the phase of once everything's burnt off.
Absolutely.
And then you become empty to receive. Would that be the right?
Yeah, in a way you can compare it with that.
You can use that analogy, yes. Because you're burning off your likes and dislikes.
Yes.
Do you know what happened to the young man when His teacher told him, empty yourself and I'll fill.
No.
He threw a perfectly good cup of wine.
And he would have been fine to drink it, but just not be attached to it. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So it's the attachment to things,
Right.
the need of things.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank
You're
you.
very
It's been
welcome.
a real pleasure.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.